Back to Egypt now, and they're calling it the Last Chance Friday in Egypt today. Political activists there promising today will be the biggest day of protests yet, capping off a week of deadly clashes with security forces. The demonstrators want an end to military rule, and today the White House throwing its support behind Egypt's protest movement. Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters is a Fox News strategic analyst, and he's the author of a book called Lines of Fire. It's always good to talk to you. Thanks very much for being here. Shouldn't we have seen this coming?
Well, certainly, and many of us did. What we saw last winter was the Egyptian Revolution 1.0. This is the Egyptian Revolution 2.0, and there will be other iterations. But what happened was this. The demonstrators, the peace activists, the democracy activists really thought they'd won. They have no experience at this. But what the military regime, and it is a military regime really, the old Mubarak government, they were willing to softly nudge Mubarak aside, but not really give up power. So they said, yeah, there will be elections. Yeah, they put all conditions on them, delayed them, spaced them out. But basically, nothing has changed. And the demonstrators see that, and now they want change. They want what they were promised.
So the White House now coming out backing the protesters. Does this make a difference at all?
On the margins, certainly it's the right thing for us to do, because these freedom protests have amazingly not been anti-American, very little hostility toward us. They're about local domestic issues. And most importantly, you want to be on the right side of history. The military junta, headed by Field Marshal Tantawi, is going. Whether it goes this month or next year, it's going. And you want to be on the side of the people. Now, that doesn't mean everything's going to be rosy in Egypt. It's not. It's going to be complicated, messy, a lot we won't like. But you got to be on, again, the right side of history.
So the military installing this former Mubarak lieutenant as the new prime minister. What does that signal to you?
Well, actually, the military thought they could get away with this because this guy is not by Mubarak regime standards, not at all bad. He was a reformer. He was fired in the late 1990s for cracking down too hard on corruption. But the demonstrators don't want any part of the old Mubarak regime. They want it all gone. They don't want leaders in their late 70s and early 80s. They want fresh blood, and hopefully it won't be literal blood. But you know, I was thinking about this driving in today to the studio, and there's a great line from Macbeth. Lady Macbeth speaks it. And this is what the demonstrators are saying to Tantawi and the military junta. Stand not upon the order of your going, but go.
Always nice to quote Shakespeare. Meantime, the Muslim Brotherhood waiting in the wings. You know, I'm just wondering, do they gain power as all of this plays out?
They will have a plurality in Parliament. Probably not a majority, but even they may even have that. But why are they going to have it? Because the Mubarak regime made a small number of Egyptians rich, and the other 80 million lived in miserable poverty. And the Muslim Brotherhood provided local services. They did the local action thing. They were the Muslim Salvation Army down in the hood. And so, of course, they're going to be represented. It's a devout Muslim country. But we have to remember a couple things. One, the military in Egypt isn't just a military, it's a huge business enterprise, vast and corrupt. And what the generals are really trying to do is hang on to the money as well as the power, and the people want that gone. The Muslim Brotherhood isn't Al-Qaeda. It's a complex group. Some are bad hombres. You don't want any part of them. Others are more moderate. The Muslim Brotherhood is actually splintering right now. And then there are the secularists. But the bottom line is this. Democracy isn't just for rich white people. Under George W. Bush, we said we wanted democracy in the Middle East. Now we're getting it. We won't like every result, but you got to remember, it's their country. There's not a lot we can do. We're not going to invade. We're not going to encourage the Egyptian military to slaughter their own people. So we just need to look at, when you're faced with a situation like this, you don't whine and gnash your teeth and moan and complain. You figure out how to take advantage of it and position yourself as well as you can. And I think the administration, of which I've been very critical, is doing the right thing by backing the freedom demonstrators.
The book is called Lines of Fire. Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, good to talk to you as always. Thanks very much for your time, sir.